brothers and sisters, I hope everybody's well, and I'm wishing a fine and pleasant Monday to everyone. Now, I've just watched the Usyk and Dubois fight back, and I have to say, for me, boxing is in the toilet. Too many problems with boxing nowadays. The amount of controversy that surrounds and shrouds modern day boxing, it's just too much for me. I can't enjoy watching it anymore. There's so many things I could go on about why boxing isn't what it used to be. First of all, the fighters. The fighters just aren't as good as they once were. Now, Tyson Fury is my man, and as far as I'm concerned, he is the best heavyweight of our era. I've heard people say he's the greatest fighter of all time. Anybody who says that doesn't know enough about the history of boxing and some of the magnificent fighters that we've had from times gone by. Now, I love Tyson Fury. I've met all the family. What a great bunch of people. And Tyson Fury is, in my opinion, the best heavyweight of our era, by far. And his fights with Deontay Wilder were like throwback fights. They were that trilogy. I've never got more enjoyment out of watching a trilogy in modern times than those three fights. You don't see trilogies hardly anymore. That was the thing back in the day, in the 70s and the 80s, all the boxing that I watched. I started boxing in the mid-90s, and I was told by my coaches and by the gym to go and watch all the fights from the 70s and the 80s. And the 90s boxing was current boxing at the time, which was brilliant. That day's gone.
Hi all, Losdy Punch Out TV. How you all doing on this Saturday evening? Just quickly want to talk about, just watched Danny Christie's video from a few days ago, 8 days ago, talking about boxing's in the gutter. Totally agree with you, Danny, but you contradict yourself a couple of times, because you said boxing's dead, looking from the fighters from the 80s and the 90s who you grew up watching, and you started boxing in the 90s. I totally agree with you. It's not on that level. But to sit there and say that Tyson Fury is the greatest fighter of our era, you obviously don't know your boxing, Danny. And don't take this wrong way. I mean, I know you're never going to see this video, but how can somebody be the greatest boxer of our era when he ain't fighting anyone? He's not fighting Usyk. He's not fighting Anthony Joshua. He's not fighting Frank Sanchez. He's not fighting Makhachev. He's not fighting Michael Hunter. He's fighting Ngannou in the Mickey Mouse fight. But you sit there and say that he's the greatest fighter of our era. How is somebody the greatest fighter of our era who doesn't fight anyone? I know you sparred with Timmy, or should I say Tommy Fury. Don't get me wrong. I like Danny Christie. Danny's a decent lad, man. He's a working class lad. Comes from nowhere, and he's worked his way to the top in BKF, whatever. I don't know, bare knuckle fighting. But Danny, to come out with a statement like that to say that Fury's the best of our era, you really need to go and do your own work in boxing, brother, because he isn't the best boxer in our era. You can't be the best boxing of our era if you're fighting people, then yeah. But if you're not fighting people, then no. You're really not. He's not beat Usyk. He's not beat AJ. He's not beat Frank fucking Sanchez. He's not fighting them people. Now if you grew up watching fighters from the 80s and the 90s, Danny, then you'll know that people like Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis, Michael Moorer, Tommy Morrison, all them lads were fighting very regular. Smoking Burt Cooper, Michael Bent, all people like that. And half of them weren't even world champions. Some of them were. But for you to sit there and say that Tyson Fury is the best fighter of our era and you can't stand boxing no more because we're not getting the fights what we want to watch, well, I'm sorry, mate, but you're pretty much contradicting yourself. Have a look back at your video. Anyway, peace out. Catch you later.